So whilst we were soldering this LED strip, this has had more than enough time to cure. And what we're going to do now is actually put this in place. So I'll show you how to do that, how I do it at least. Put the very edge of this at the very end of the strip of the blade. Push it in all the way, pixel by pixel. That's the continuity meter, by the way. Not the continuity meter, the voltmeter. And before we glue it together, you want to check if you pushed it incorrectly. So just try to put it on top. So you can see there's a bit of a gap here. What's going on? There we go. See, it's nice and shut. See what I mean? So that will be good to go. What I use to secure them in place while they're drying, because we're going to super glue it with super glue. Whilst in the meantime, actually, I'm going to turn it upside down so it starts moving down. I use these little clamps, very tiny clamps. Is it focusing? Yeah, got loads of them. So let's just get to it. So, and you should be checking the LEDs as well at the same time. Just make sure they are in the correct position and they're like halfway in. And I'll show you where I put the super glue in. I do it between each bulb, not bulb, LED. So you see the LED is here and here, and I put a little dot in the middle, for example, and one at the top, and then just watch. Yeah, see, a little dot. Don't overdo it because it's going to spill out and it's going to be a mess. You don't need a lot. And for the back side, you can see it's only like 1 or 2 perimeters, which is like max 1 millimeter. So there's no real need for super glue there because there's such a thin piece of plastic. I'll show you what I do is when I put the pieces together and they've been clamped for an amount of time, I actually melt the 2 pieces together with a soldering iron because you won't even see that area anyway. Okay. Got more than enough super glue now. Can you see the super glue? Should be able to see it. Yeah, I just zoomed in to check. So now, put it on. And the super glue I got, at least Gorilla super glue, it doesn't flash glue it, if that's the right term. It doesn't instantly glue, so you do have a bit of wiggle room for time, so it won't instantly cure. You can move it around just for a few minutes. So okay, so that looks good. Now what I do is first check alignment. So for example, these, to make sure it's not one piece isn't forward or back, and same with left and right. And then this is where I get the clamps and I start clamping it down. And where I clamp is not right on the edge, I do it more in the middle, because the part that you want to make sure is completely flat is the front rather than the back. And so I do it one side, then 50%, and then the other side, and then just keep halving it, halving the points of where you are clamping. And what I'm doing in here as well is I'm just checking, like here, so make sure you can't see through it. I can feel a little, so it doesn't really feel even here. Like this feels more forward, and the bottom feels more backwards. So I'm just gonna adjust it slightly, just through feel. This feels great, this one. See, you don't want it overlapping it wrong. You want them perfectly aligned. And keep halving it. Yeah, you really want to make sure, so like if you clamp at the end, you want to make sure that the blade doesn't do that. So do check. Like now I'm going to check. See, there's a little gap here between the blade. Don't want that. So maybe clamp it more on the blade side. Like more in the middle. Just an idea, don't have to do it. That's what I'm going to do. But if it slides down, then obviously you just have to move it up a bit. Like I mentioned, now check. See, there's a gap here. I'll show you if you can see. There, see? You can see the LED strip. That's not good. So to fix that, you can put a little clamp here in the middle. I'll do one here as well. And check the other sides. Like here, I can see it. Damn it. That's a little bit of a difficulty when you're doing it more in the middle rather than the end, because the middle obviously has a little bend. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to heat up the soldering iron again, because now I'm going to show you how I melt them together. Yeah, that's good enough. I can't really see the LED strip. And then as the soldering iron heats up, remember, clean the end, because we were soldering and mixing plastic with solder. Obviously you don't want that. We don't want tin on the plastic that we're just going to melt together now. But the back side of this end is going to be facing the black plastic with the base of the sword anyway. Okay. So actually I do have a few extra clamps, so I might as well use them. And I'd rather, as mentioned, do it more in the middle. But you can't really do it because they just do that. So I guess I'll just have to do it on the ends. Ugh.
You okay there?
Mm-hmm.
Just having a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. So with these clamps you can put it on the side. It's quite cool. Okay, soldering iron is at 480 degrees, very hot, and then just push it down. And see, I move it quite quick. Down the seam. Requires quite a bit of concentration. But remember, this is just like a second line of connection. Like the first line is the super glue, because the area that we're super gluing is super flat. As long as you print it on a smooth sheet, of course. If you print it on a texture sheet, then you're going to have quite a lot of trouble gluing them together. So for these clear black pieces, I print them on the smooth PEI sheet. And then you can do these little, I don't know what you call these, hooks. Do these little hooks as well. I'm not going to do this bit because that bit you'll be able to see. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to check again the other side to make sure there's no unreasonable seams. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'll show you what I do now. Make sure you don't feel any super glue, because I forget this bit. This is quite important that you do this now. You get this bit, I call this the nozzle, and you want to push this in now, because I always forget this bit. Yeah. So this is there now. So now turn off the soldering iron, and now I can move. And now I'm gonna say now, and then I'm gonna repeat myself, and then I'm gonna say now. So now we can work. No. I can't stop saying that. Gonna move onto the blade itself, and that's where the electronics happen. So we'll need these pieces. So this bit is gonna go to the bottom here and fits in like that. And we're going to start with the most annoying part, which is like the worst part about this project. So the most frustrating part about this project is the battery pins. The batteries I'm using are quite specific. These are Sony NP FW50, and I'm using these because they're close to the right voltage, but they're very small and they're rechargeable. And yeah, I'd rather use this over, say, these A12 batteries, because they're quite expensive and they're one-time use. So once you buy them, you can just keep recharging this basically. So that was my biggest reason why I use these batteries. So there's 3 pins here, but we only use 2. We use minus and plus, negative and positive, ground, negative / ground, plus positive. And I use these, I forgot what they're called, the pins. What are these called, Bex? Paperclip pins.
Hey?
Paperclip pins, right? I think they're called paperclip pins. So spread it open and use some pliers, and you can clip it and then just do that until it snaps off, and then just check that it goes in. Don't worry, the voltage is like super low, so you won't get a shock really by just touching the one wire. So, and just check that it goes in to the slot, and it goes in very easily, so that's fine. And then we're gonna, how long is this piece supposed to be? I forget. I think around 5mm for the bend. So grab around 5mm. I say maybe 7. Grab 7mm, and then, no, actually I'm gonna do like 1 whole centimeter first, and then move it back and forth until it snaps. Okay, so that I would say is around 1 centimeter. So here we have 1 centimeter. So yeah, these paperclip pins, I believe these are, they're supposed to be silver. Maybe this is coated in silver. So yeah, because that is one of the best conductors, silver. I think it's silver. I might be wrong, but yeah, paperclip pins. So this is around 1 centimeter, and it goes in to the battery perfectly. 1 centimeter is obviously way too much, so we want to grab, say, 6 millimeters, and then bend it in half. Not half, around 6 millimeters. Did I do it the wrong way? I think I just did it wrong way. Okay. Yeah, I did it wrong because I need to insert it from this side. It's much easier to insert it that way. So let's do this again. So grab 1 and then trim it at around 1 centimeter. Yeah, so I'm just trying to make it as easier for you guys as possible, so you don't have to go through what I went through, because this bit is quite annoying. Okay, so this is quite long at the moment, but that's fine. Turn the soldering iron on again. And the idea here is, so you can see here, we've got little slots here. There's little slots here and here. And that is for, is that focusing alright? Hold on, let me just check. Let me go manual focus. There, you can see the slots here, and that is where the pins are got to be inserted. And the way to insert them is to heat them up with a soldering iron and then push it in, because it's quite hard to do it by hand. It is quite thin. Maybe you can push it through with oh, actually I did manage to push it through, so that is good enough. But if you can't push it through, you're gonna have to use a soldering iron. Let's just try the other one as well. And you want to be careful. So you see, if there's pressure, if there's too much friction, that means you're going to need a soldering iron. Like this left side, I can't really push through, so I need a bit of soldering iron. And it's like that on purpose, is because you don't want them moving, these pins. These pins should stay in place. So let's just try to heat it up a bit here. Just hold the pin in place, or how should I do this? Grab, maybe, I don't know how to do this. I get confused about this part. Maybe grab just use the soldering iron. One second. You need to be careful because this does get quite hot. So you can't really push it in place. Oh shit, sorry about the focus. Let me make sure you can see it properly. Yeah, definitely won't be able to push in without heating it up first. You know what? Before I do this, actually, I'm gonna trim it because this is definitely too long. So I'll just make it more around 8mm. Is that 8mm? Something along those lines. You might have to fiddle with this back and forth until it feels right, and you'll see as I get on with this. So that's much shorter now. You'll see how I fold this in a minute, but just give me one. Oop. So you need to be careful with this. And yeah, just be careful. Don't copy everything that I do. Just take this as not a guide, but more just this is what I'm doing. I'm not telling you to do this. Just seeing if this fits with friction, but quite difficult. You shouldn't need too much friction, but no, you shouldn't need too much heat, just a little bit, because this does heat it up. You see, it's going in. There we go, it went in. So now get some what are these called again? Tweezers, and angle it in position. And now you see there's a little hole here at the back of this white piece, and that is there for a reason, so that when you put the battery in, you can have a look through the other side and check the alignment of the battery pin. So if it doesn't look like it's aligned, you can adjust it before we fixate it in place. So you see, this is kind of going downwards a little bit. That will do fine, and it's long enough. As long as you can insert it, that's fine. So it would be inserted like this basically. And check the other side, that looks good. It's a bit of an angle, but it goes in fine. And now while it's in place, can you see fine? I'm gonna repeat that just in case you guys didn't see. So go in manual focus mode. 1 second. Yeah, so I'm gonna repeat that quickly. So see this this pin, we'll put in the battery, push it in, and then we look on the other side. We want to check the length of this pin. It reaches the end. It's at a slight angle. We can see it's kind of going more like that than straight. It's not a big deal because it goes in fine. We just felt that. And then we look at the other side, and you see the pin here. Then we want to push it, angle it down. This is so that it doesn't come out through the other side. And we're going to solder a black wire. Is that black wire here? Yep, it's the minus. The minus is the black wire, so that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, do we want to solder it now? No, I'll do the other pin first. So let's get another pin. And that was around 8mm, I believe. So let's check, is that too long? That's not long enough actually. So it's around that length, I believe. What is that? That was a bit too short, so around that much. So bend it back and forth until it snaps. And the exact same process here. So you can use tweezers or I'll go in autofocus again. The hell? There we go. So there we go, you guys can see now, I'm sure. It's not focusing. Focus properly. There we go. There. So it goes in the bottom one now. There's only 2 slots, so you can't go wrong because there needs to be a pin in each one. Push it in place until they're both even. And before you fold it, put the battery in and check the other side with the square hole. Okay, see, it's not fitting correctly, so if it doesn't fit correctly, you can grab it through the side as well and just angle it. So push the battery out slightly, angle it here. Oh, it's because it's too long. So you see, push it in. This is why we didn't bend it. It's a bit too long. That looks good. But it's a bit long, isn't it? Yeah, so I'm gonna actually pull it out because it's way too long. So and just remove maybe just like 1.5mm, very minor. Push it in again. And so just angle it to the way it looked for it to fit correctly. So look through this hole. See, it fits in perfectly. And now we want to bend it the other way. So we bent this negative pin that way, bend the positive pin that way so they don't touch. I don't want to do this. Just use the tweezers as well. Yep. And let me just check that you guys can see. All right. There you can see the pins there. And there's no point of well, you can check at this point that you're getting a voltage reading. So we've got a voltmeter here and put it on the volt here. So this means, what's it called, DC, direct current. This means alternating current. You see the wavy line, that means alternating. This means direct. So we're going to the direct, and the decimal point should be like in the middle so we can see it. And just let's check if we're getting a reading. And we're supposed to be getting the voltage of the battery basically. See, we've got, well, that's very low voltage though. What's up with that? 2.2, 2.12. That doesn't look right. That must be a dead battery then. Let me get another battery. Okay, got another battery. Let's give it a test. So check that that's in correctly. See, it's not in all the way. So what did I just do with my tweezers? Okay, my tweezers are here. So if a different battery doesn't fit in, adjust the pins again until they feel like they're going perfectly, because obviously you want all the batteries to go in correctly. Okay, that's in right. Let's check this voltage. 7.9. Yep, that's about right. Okay, so that's good. I assume the other one was just out of charge, so this one's good. Okay, so what's next? So now it's reading the voltage and the pins are in place. Just gonna make sure that these pins are pushed down enough before we do the soldering. Okay, so the black wire is going to go from here, start here, to the very end. It is going to go to the on and off switch, the toggle switch. So this one's needs to be quite long. I think this is around 15 centimeters, 50 to 20 centimeters. But measure it out from your own print, or just by holding it together. You can see, you can make a judgment. Or to be honest, you don't even need to cut it at this point. So I'm just going to strip just the end off. And where's my tin solder, whatever. And then some solder on the wire. Now there's two things you can do. You can either remove the battery. Well, you should remove the battery. I'm not going to, because I want to make sure that the pin doesn't move. So that is why I'm not going to move it, but I suggest you do, because heat plus batteries isn't very good. But I'm keeping it in because I don't want my pins moving. So it only takes just a second for the pin to attach to the solder. And that is good. So the black one goes to the minus of the battery, which is more towards the middle, and the red goes to the outside. And the red one can be a bit shorter because it's going to the buck converter first. Okay, so get some more tin. Cut off any excess because there's a bit too long at the moment. And then be very careful doing this if you got the battery attached, which I advise you don't. You don't want to touch positive and negative together, because that will just decharge the battery instantly. It shouldn't kill it, but if you hold it for a prolonged time, then it might. It's not melting. Holding it maybe a wrong angle. Can you guys see? All right, here you can. There we go. Okay. Check that it's soldered okay. Then if you want to check that they are okay, just use the continuity meter again. And now I'm going to cut this wire because now I need it a bit shorter. So where is that? Yeah, that's more than enough. Where's my meter? Okay, there. Yep, see, we're getting a reading, which means that the connection is good. Now I'm going to get the battery out. And now this is the gluing part. So we're going to have to use these clamps, which should be dry by now, to be honest. It's been like half an hour. So I'll show you what to do first. before you start gluing. Get the black wire, poke it through the hole. Same with the red wire, let it follow. And then just do a little test fit. Okay, so it's basically going to be like that. So now I am going to put some glue on. Be careful as you pull it, you don't want to detach the wires. And super glue, let it drip down. I'm on manual focus, aren't I still? Which is fine. Stay on manual for a bit. And you want to put the super glue on the white, not the black, because on the black there's going to be some areas that are not supposed to get covered with the super glue. So make sure you put the glue on the white. And don't go overboard, you don't need excess glue. However, you do want glue here and on this edge here as well, because we're not gonna solder this area, melt it. Okay, that should be more than enough. The downside of the super glue is when it touches the black, it kind of goes a bit white, so that is a bit annoying, but it can be fixed with a bit of paint touch up. But you want to avoid that, because if you're printing with good filament and nice textured sheets, you should have good colors. And now, so get some cotton buds as well. And before you start clamping down, or you can start clamping down straight away, just get some excess off, because I can see some excess here already. And bin them, don't reuse them, because it instantly has super glue on them. And so from this, just get a few clamps off, like from the middle, not all of them, you don't need to get all the clamps off, just a few for now. So I've got 4 clamps here, and so push the bottom piece that way, because there is an alignment helpers. What would you say? Are they helpers? Well, no, not helpers. Just align it with all the holes. Got one here, one here. Gonna need more clamps. So I think I'm just gonna take all the clamps off the LED now. It's long enough anyway. Yeah, you want to really check the alignment. And just do that with the edges, basically. I'll show you what I do as well. I put a little dab of glue. Where's my super glue? Into this hole, because I don't want these wires moving. This is what I'm saying, like once this is in place, you're not really gonna undo it or open it up, so it's kind of final, like when you put it together. So I'm gonna get more clamps and watch. So there's, you see the super glue there? Goes into the slot and then follows this hole. Need more super glue. No super glue, I need another clamp. And curve. Get another clamp. There we go. Oh, make sure to put clamps here as well, on this side as well. Very important. Yeah, I'm just going to use all the clamps, to be honest, because I need them. They need to be here. Every single clamp. Check alignment now. Looks all good. And again, oh yeah, so now this is another mistake that I made actually before. At this point I put in the battery to check continuity, but if you do that, you're going to get residue on the battery. See the battery? It's got a bit of white. That's from the super glue. So I'm not going to do it this time actually. I'm just going to trust that the continuity is still there between those pins. As long as you don't obviously like snag them, it should be fine. So in the meantime, while these are drying, I'm actually going to get to the circuit. Just make a little bit of space, because I want to get this project out of the way, to be honest. Well, this is like the 6th or 5th of these Cyberpunk katanas that I've made. I just keep going through iterations, because each one is improving. So, what am I doing? Okay, so buck converter first. Okay, before the buck converter, I am actually going to do this control instead, the SP110E. This is controlled with, what is it called? Is it LED Hue? Where's my phone? Let's check what it's controlled with, just to remind myself. So it is controlled with, yeah, LED Hue app. This app LED. So I use Dioko strip for RGB LEDs, but the pixels are used with LED Hue app, and I'll do a tutorial on that app because there isn't one available. So, and I know how to use it, so other people need to too. Anyway, where was I? So we need basically this chip from this. So let me just, so you would receive it like this, and let me just show you how to disassemble it. So just remove that, and I just use these little clippers. You get these with 3D printers. Okay, so you can just be careful. Maybe wear goggles with this because it's quite dangerous with all the pins and plastic. See? Pretty easy to remove. Then you can just bend this. Now we want to remove this connector and this connector. So get your soldering iron. And before I do that, I am going to remove the plastic. Now do not clip the metal pins, because if you do, you can remove the whole contact point, and then you would be left with only the contact points from the behind. So you are lucky, because, well, I'm lucky as well actually, because so this is what I did the first time. I actually clipped, and I clipped the metal, and by clipping the metal I actually peeled off the contact points, and then I wouldn't be able to solder it on. So I was left with having to solder on through the back, which is good enough, but it's just not as nice as just having a nice flush top area to work with. So as I said, I'm only trimming the top area for now. Try not to touch the pins just yet. Just get the plastic off. Maybe in between. Let's try. I might get this wrong, but let's just see how this goes. I want to try not to agitate the metal pins just yet until we heat them up. But what I'm doing is I'm just trying to remove some of the plastic. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a lot of solder and just put it just on those 4 pins, just so it heats them all up. And I'm going to try to make sure I'm not getting the solder on the other components. And this should just come off, to be honest. Probably not getting one, am I? Yeah, this third one. Okay, all of them have a lot of solder on now, so let's just heat them up. It's not really coming down. Why is it not coming down? What's attached to them? Oh, these there's pins, there's metal pins at the front as well. Forgot about them. You see these 2 pins in the very front. See that? See that detached from the board, and we don't want to do that with these back pins. So try again. See? So that's fine. Just clean it up now. So you see what happened here with this? The chip, the solder came completely off, so now we wouldn't be able to solder anything onto this. So that's what we were trying to prevent on these 4 pins. So these 4 pins are good to go. They're ready to be attached to the LED strip. And now we do the same to this. So this is one that I already done. So this needs to look like that basically. So let's do that. Careful, this is going to be a bit hot if you put on a lot of solder. So I'll just cut it. Be careful. Make sure to wear goggles because you might get something flying about in your eye. See? Just flew. Okay, so what I can do now is I can put actually solder on the behind of this. And what solder does is just makes it easier to put heat on that area. So now I've got more than enough solder on the back. If I just heat it up, all of them at once. Actually, no, it's not coming out. Let's try this. By the way, this is a bit stupid what I'm doing, so don't do. Just take caution whatever you do, because I grabbed this like this before and burnt myself, so don't do that. But I'm just using this as a little hand for now. So I'm putting the solder on here and pulling this. See what I mean? It's pulling, and then the bottom one. See, pulls. See the middle, the very far left is pulled out. Now let's get the other ones. That's out. There we go. They're all out. Just bin that and turn the soldering iron around straight away before you grab it. Bit of dripping solder. Okay, so this. So I'm just going to clean up the solder joints quickly with a bit of solder. Okay, this looks good to go. So which one should I use? The one that I just did, or the old one? Doesn't really matter. I'll just use this one. So where were we? So actually, I can actually connect the LED strip now, which is what I like to do, to be honest. So okay, so we've got our LED strip here, slash blade, and the base here. So now we're gonna put secure it in place with. Let's just test it if it fits first. So get the cables out the way. Goes in here. Goes in here. In here. Yeah, so it goes in perfectly. And I'm just going to put some super glue in actually and just keep them in place because it's good as it is. So where's my super glue? So the super glue, I'm going to put some on the inside of these and some on the edge as well. So it makes a contact with this pin and the slight top of it as well. Thanks.
Yep.
So here, there's quite a big blob actually here. Yeah. And as I mentioned, the edges as well. Edges. Don't need too much on the edges because it will spill over onto the clear blade, which I don't want. I just want some there. Oh, and here as well. I'm not going to put too much here though. Push it in place. Good, 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 good. Okay, so I'm going to use a little clamp here as well, so get one of these because these dry pretty quick now. Actually, just want to make sure there's no excess super glue going on black. So here, and I'm going to elevate this area a bit, so because this area is elevated with what? Got some batteries here. Okay, so now, this SP110E is going to go around here. Here is going to be a little switch, so we need to make some room for that. And now, okay, now this bit isn't vital, but if you're limited for space and you want to make some extra room, just make sure you have enough space for the other components. This is what I do. Look, so I got a Dremel bit here. It's just a drum sander, and you see this area here. This is where the power comes in. This area doesn't do anything besides it's just excess chipboard. I forgot the name of it, PCB board. So I just grind it off to make sure this DC input area has enough space, which it should, but I'm gonna give it a little trim just to show you in case you need to do it. It's a bit messy. Okay, see, just a little corner just for that area. Bit of a mess. So see what I just did? Just a little bit. Actually, I should have zoomed in for that, but you get the idea, guys. It's not big. It's not something too technical. And the way we have that positioned in place is I use these acrylic foam tape. I think this is M3. Is it M3? No, this is different. This is Sanosh tape, but another good brand is M3 or 3M. It's one of them. But acrylic foam tape, that's what you want. Really, really strong tape. Like you get other brands, other really weak double-sided tapes that's a thin strip, but this is a thick acrylic tape. So make sure there's no residue here. It's clean. Put that tape on the back. Get the acrylic off. No, not the acrylic. What's it called? The red protection tape, whatever it's called. Peel it, and you want to make sure you will have enough space for the the toggle switch. And you know where the toggle switch will be. There's a little protrusion here. That's where the toggle switch is going to sit on. So give it around 5mm after that. I'd say there. It's a bit much, actually. Can give it a bit more. Not much. Not enough. I meant. There we go. Just fixate it in place by just wiggling it about a little bit. So we need the space here and here. I'll show you for what? For a buck converter and a, what is this again? I forgot. Ripple current. I forgot what it's called. Not a diode. What is this called? It's not a resistor. Capacitor. That's so the capacitor goes here, and the buck converter. Where is the buck converter? The buck converter. So let me just walk you through them. This is a You can find these on eBay. These are called 360 mini DC to DC. 360 mini DC to DC buck converter. And these measure 17mm wide by 11mm long. Very, very tiny. The problem with these though is if you don't use a buck converter, if you don't use a capacitor, you can overcharge the current. You can the current can, what's it called, you can get a voltage spike and you can blow this the LED strip, which happened actually to 2 or 3 of my blades actually. So that is why I had to introduce this capacitor and learn about what the hell is going wrong with this buck converter. So that is what you need, a capacitor in case an overcurrent happens. So that will go after the capacitor. So it will be like that basically. Anyway, so while we're here, let's connect this chip to our LED strip and give the LED strip a test in a minute. So we're gonna have to trim the wires down because as you can see they're really long at the moment. So let's just check what goes to what. So let's have a look at the diagram. And G and D, which is ground, goes to black. So let's start with black. Now remember, toggle switch is going to go here. So have the wires going up. Now be careful not to cut the wire off, because if you do, you're going to have to extend it somehow. So we've got the soldering iron ready. Get some tin. Put some tin on the wire, not too much. Ground, black goes to ground. And I'll show you how I do it. I get my tweezers and I hold the wire with a tweezer because the wire gets really hot. And don't squeeze the wire too much because you will deform the shield, not shield. Okay, so you see we've got the black wire. It is good to go. Now the red goes to the VCC, which is voltage, and the green goes to the DAT, which is data. So we're gonna have to strip. Let's do the green first. Let's do them in an order. Strip this a little bit. Don't cut it, as in don't trim it too much. And that goes to data. Looks good. And they look good to me now. So just position the wires in place so they won't get in the way of other components, which is only the top cover and the toggle switch. So that is good to go. So now what we can do is we can actually test if this works or not.